Okay, this is the engine bay inspection of the 2018 Ford Focus ST. Right away, I am pleased to see that it has not been hosed out. There is a small amount of just over time kind of patina, a little bit of dust, a little bit of dirt. The vehicle has lived its life up in the West Plains and in Spokane, so it's a dusty environment, and I appreciate that it doesn't look like it's been heavily cleaned in here. It does feel like maybe there is some little kind of Armor All kind of detailed deposition on the cover. Otherwise, it's fairly clean in here. I've checked the core support. Core support comes back with a clean bill of health. I don't see any damage, any cracks. Typically what you'll see along these, this is all plastic. So what you'll see is they'll start to fracture, or you'll see where everything will still be bolted together, but if this got smacked in the front, that you'd see these pins, these bolts will be popped out, or they would be cracked right along here, the stress cracks, or maybe up here where it bolts to the side quarter panel of the body itself. I'm not seeing that. It's a very fragile component. It's very easy to damage, so it doesn't take a lot of front end impact to damage that. And so I'm not seeing that. Also, the dust and the patina for all these parts looks all the same. So again, no signs of collision damage here. No concerns with that. I was able to check the coolant. Coolant is the DexCool. Ford does use DexCool coolant for this generation. The level looks good. The fluid looks clear. I was able to confirm the brake fluid looks good as well. I cannot find a clutch master cylinder reservoir. It might very well be buried under the cowling up there. That's pretty typical. The battery normally has a cover. There's no corrosion or anything on these terminals here. No cause for concern. No damage to the wiring. I'm not documenting any corrosion in this vehicle at all. The seller did state that they did do a cold air intake on this vehicle. I would appreciate that. I'd like to say that I do appreciate the fact that this cold air intake seals. It looks like it's a version, obviously, for the RS, that it seals with the upper insulation of the roof. And so what that will do is prevent hot air from coming in the engine bay. So what it's doing is very likely it's piping air either from this gap right here up from the static air that comes in behind the headlamp. And it's not sucking hot air in, so it's good to see that. It's very typical that with cold air intake modifications, they will suck in engine bay air, and we like to call that in the industry hot air intakes, not cold air intakes. Did do a lower belly pan inspection. There's no leaks, no drips I could see. There's no changes in patina on components that I could see. The throttle, you can kind of even see down there on the intake right there. There's no damage to plastic. The alternator is not wet. I did pull up the vanity cover here and inspect the valve cover. For the age and the mileage, it's a very typical failure point for that plastic valve cover to begin leaking. It's not showing currently any signs of leakage or arrested leaks or anything. So the engine bay as a whole, it's going to get a high pass. There's nothing in this engine bay that is bothering me at this time. Thank you. Okay, this is the exterior inspection of the 2018 Focus ST. Right away, let's document that we've got some universal aftermarket wheels here. So long as the hub for this vehicle is the correct hub or the spacer is correct, I'm okay with that. The problem is that if these vehicles are typically hub-centric vehicles, which means that the weight of the vehicle actually rides on a hub ring that sits, the rotor is sandwiched, is nestled onto. So aftermarket bolt patterns like this, where the bolt pattern will work for multiple vehicles, also often have to be compatible with multiple different hubs. So it is possible to incorrectly install these, and you can deal with all sorts of alignment, vibration issues with that. That being said, I didn't document any of that on the drive, on the high-speed drive, 70, 80 miles an hour. So I'm willing to believe that they are spaced correctly, but I would like that to be documented, and then that needs to be checked. Anytime the wheel comes off, I'd like to know that there's a hub spacer or hub alignment ring back there that's properly spacing that out. Sometimes they're made of plastic. I don't like to see that. I like to see an aluminum one, a steel one, anything but plastic, because they can fail from wear and heat, and also brake heat and everything. And that failure can suddenly lead to a whole bunch of play in the wheel, and it's not a safe situation. So I'd like that to be looked at. Moving down the vehicle, we're going to start with the front quarter panel. We're checking for any sort of deviations in fitment. Front quarter panel to door pillar A, that looks square. Moving to B, that looks square. The rocker panels were checked. I didn't feel any play in those. Moving to panel C, pillar C, that's square. Moving to the back, looking at rear bumper cover. Fitment with the rear quarter panel is good. I'm going to pull on the bumper cover. We're going to make sure it feels snug up against the vehicle. There's a little bit of cosmetic damage. Looks like very minor collision damage in this lamp, low speed damage perhaps, maybe backed into something backed into it. So we'll document that right there. You can kind of feel the cracks. Over time, water will get in here, water intrusion will get in here, it can mess with the wiring. So do advise that this lamp be replaced at a point in time to keep water, moisture from intruding in here and damaging the wiring or anything in there. So moving around the back of the vehicle, pulling on this rear bumper cover. The rear is a little bit loose right here. That might be normal. There's the exhaust actually ports out the very center of the vehicle. So there might not be a lot under here for it to clip onto. So there's a little play, but I'm not feeling anything that's like snapping or clapping back and forth that tells me something is broken. Moving to the back right, same deal, pulling there. Nothing broken up on the actual retainer clips up here. Gas door opens and closes as it should. The right lamp is nice and flush with the body of the vehicle. If we move back to the other side, we can see that there's a little bit of deviation right here. So there might be a kind of a mounting point that got tweaked in there. If this kind of got smacked right here, tweaked a little bit that way. Again, just to be monitored that, pay attention to that. It might be something that can be adjusted in the future. Moving around the vehicle, we're checking right rear C pillar. We're checking for square and true. That's square. Rocker panel is square to the bottom of the door. That's good. B pillar, looking for square. That's good. A pillar, looking for square, that's good. Checking fitment on quarter panel to front bumper cover, that's good. You could see, sometimes you would see like a paint rubbing along this line where the bumper cover was taken on and off and on and off. Sometimes that can happen during collision repair, sometimes with lights, a lot of electrical work. There's a lot of electrical going on in the front of these vehicles. So if there's any concern with that, this could come on and off, on and off, on and off. That paint's only so thick, so it can it'll start to degrade. So I'm not seeing too bad of a sign of that. It's normal to have it off once or twice in its lifetime. It's not normal to have it off half a dozen times or more. So there's a little bit of paint deviance right there. It may have come off at one point in time. Again, that's pretty typical if you're having to service anything up front. Following the hood around, looking for any sort of deviations in panel gaps, following the hood around. This is not actually a gap. Ford uses that to seal the engine up. There's a piece of weather stripping gasket in there. I would like to document, it looks like the hood is slightly higher on the right side by about 2 or 3 millimeters. That can still be QC fitment. That wouldn't lead me necessarily to believe that's a collision issue. That could just be typical Ford QC. I keep an eye on that. I don't see any issues with the witness marks on the other side. So the exterior as a whole, this vehicle gets a pass. Thank you. This is the underbody inspection of the 2018 Focus ST. So there's not too much aero going on under this car. I'm sorry if it's quite bright out here, but I am able to see under the vehicle. I'm checking for control arms, high centering damage, lift points, any sort of improper lifting. The side skirt on this vehicle is pretty thick and it's all plastic, so you have to be very careful that you only use the points that Ford has intended to be used for lifting this vehicle. So we're going to walk along, we're going to look for those, make sure there's no damage to that plastic under paneling. So otherwise, we're checking all the way across the vehicle for high centering, rust, signs of mechanical damage, missing components, heat shields, exhaust components, anything we can see, we're going to look at it. So checking exhaust routing, that looks good. Heat shielding is intact. Coming around the back, not seeing any issues with the side rocker panels, nothing in there broken or crushed in. Let's move to the back. We're checking, we got a canister muffler back here, looking for flash rusting, excessive rust, damage, anything's come up on it. Pushed it in, looking, I can see the rear end links for the rear suspension, looking at the rear springs. So these are, it appears to be separate. These are not coilovers, they're not struts. The shocks are separate from the rear springs. There is what appears to be, there is a dark shock in here that could either be a replaced shock or it could be slightly greasy. So let's monitor that on the rear left of the vehicle, that the rear shock be inspected when a wheel is taken off. It looks like maybe, yes, I'd like to, let's get that monitor, make sure to keep an eye on that. It could just be the paint, the shock could have been replaced. It's definitely a different dust color. It's not the same dust color that the rest of the vehicle is. So it either has been replaced or it is maybe possibly beginning to fail. We're gonna check the right rear and try to compare the same. It's kind of a little hard to see out here due to the light. We're gonna try around the front. Otherwise, everything else looks fine. Let's move around to this side. Let me go back on the other side. This one does appear to be kind of a nice dusty, dry, regular color. So I'm going to say that the left one is beginning to leak. I need that checked at the earliest convenience for safety, and make sure that the the left rear shock is inspected for failure and replaced as soon as possible if it is found to have failed. Moving up the vehicle, middle of the right side of the vehicle, look, same thing, high centering, exhaust damage, anything like that. Looking for damage to the rocker panel, not seeing any. Moving around to the front of the vehicle, looking for leaks. So it looks like the front belly pan is retained, but over time it looks like heat and just general age is beginning to deform it. So I'm going to advise that as soon as possible this front belly pan be replaced. It's probably starting to drag now because it's actually kind of hanging down even though it is retained. So I'd like to see that get replaced at the earliest convenience as well, or at least removed for the time being. You know, it's eventually going to come off, but it is retained at this time. So other than the left rear shock and the front belly pan, the underbody of this vehicle gets a pass. Thank you. Okay, this is the interior inspection of the 2018 Focus ST. We did have a couple alerts for a right rear stop lamp, a light bulb out. Other than that, the infotainment and driver's information systems come back as clear. We do have a check engine light, which will be discussed in the code scan portion of the video. Checking for the most touched areas of the car, steering wheel, shifter, the kind of silverish paint, the silver nickel paint kind of, you know, the color is starting to come off of the shifter knob. Pretty typical. It's a manual. It's the thing you're going to touch the most in the car. That's just a monitor, not a cause for concern. If it is a metal coating, I'd be paying attention to that. Make sure it doesn't cut your hand up or something like that. I've seen that on some cars. No peeling on the driver door handles. I'm not seeing any signs of peeling on any of the other door handles. A lot of these vehicles will have like this kind of metallic covering over the plastic that will eventually start peeling over time. Not seeing any signs of abuse or damage. The floor mats are missing in this vehicle. That's kind of a negative, but I'm not seeing a significant amount of damage or wear through in the carpet. You can see the heel damage on the front of the carpet here. It's minor, but it's there. Not seeing anything significant as in, like, you know, it's worn through. Pedals all look in good condition. Seats are in good condition. Everything that's worn in the car is from the result of the mileage that's been logged on the car. So, but no signs of damage. The roof panels aren't hanging down. You know, the door cards are firm. The closures work just fine. So there's no signs of interior abuse or damage or neglect. Interior gets a pass. Thank you. Okay, this is the trunk inspection video of the 2018 Focus ST. So right away checking for side damage, any sort of you know, pushed in panels, trunks, things like that. If I can see it, I'm going to inspect it. I'm going to lift it. I'm going to look at it. Pulling the kind of the trunk gate, the liner kind of up. We see we've got a full-size spare here. That's very nice to see. It appears to be in good health. It does look like it's been used at least once. There is a sign of like dirt and dust on this tire, so certainly at one point in time the vehicle has had a flat. The current wheels that are on the vehicle are not the stock wheels, so it might have been entirely possible that a wheel or something had failed and become damaged, and so they bought a set of replacements. That's really common. Looks like there is partially a emergency kit in here with your lug nut tools and your lift. There's actually a little funnel in here. Likely that funnel that's back here, that needs to stay here, and that has to do with the funnel, the capless no cap system on these vehicles. Now, to note, this funnel, if you ran out of gas on the side of the road, and this fuel filler is designed to take a nozzle of a gas pump, so you can't just start pouring fuel in here because there's a twin valve system in here, and if you try to do that, it's just gonna pour all over the ground. So you have to kind of stick let's say a car catheter of sorts in this vehicle and bypass both those valves, and that's the funnel that you use to do that with. So it's very vital that that funnel stay with this vehicle and never be lost, because without that you will not be able to fuel this vehicle unless you're at a gas station. That's something to be aware of. Looking for signs of water intrusion, signs of rodent damage, anything like that, any electrical that I can see, which I don't. Looking back here along the sealant, anything like that, if there's been any water intrusion in here. A lot of wood, a lot of mold and organic material likes to build up along those little creases because there's so much texture. I'm not seeing any of that, so the trunk gets a pass. Thank you. This is the code scan portion of the 2018 Focus ST. The check engine light is documented for a P1450. This is likely related to a purge control solenoid, purge control valve that deals with bleeding raw vapors off the fuel tank. It says unable to bleed up fuel tank vacuum. So it might not be able to build vacuum in the tank. It might be an issue with maybe the valve is stuck open, or it's just not responding to the vehicle command to purge the raw fuel vapors into the intake manifold. So modern fuel systems, cars are required by law to capture and recirculate raw fuel vapors so they're not vented into the atmosphere. And so this is the evap code. Typically, they're very minor. They don't typically cause a lot of problems. They can cause some vacuum leaks in certain cases. They can cause some idle and throttle issues in certain cases. They can cause enrichment issues in certain cases, like say the valve is stuck open and raw fuel vapors are constantly sucked in the engine, then it can cause the vehicle to run rich. All of that is contraindicated by the behavior of the vehicle. There's nothing about the drive experience of the vehicle that says that this is a significant problem. So more than likely that this is just a very electrical sensor, electromechanical issue where that valve maybe is stuck intermittently, it's not working quite right. So this is a let's document this, but it is a very minor issue. Because it's such a minor issue, I'm going to go ahead and give the engine portion of this video a pass. We'll move down to the ABS traction control. I did find one here. Ignition input on. This is a pretty fancy scanner, and that doesn't give me a lot to go by. These are communication codes, these U300 codes. I've got a couple other in here that might imply that this is connected to maybe a failed battery. If you go into like audio control module, accessory protocol, body control, a lot of these are things like historical code, control module, ground A, right stop lamp. There's a bulb out in the back. We go down to driver door module, rear window motion sensor, signal frequency too low. All the windows worked. So sometimes this can just be due to you hit a bump. Sometimes it can be a replaced battery. Sometimes it can be, maybe the motor is starting to age a little bit, so it doesn't like. It says signal frequency too low. So is that telling me it's pulse width modulated? So are we having a resistance issue in a wire somewhere that it doesn't like the return on that signal? Who knows, but everything seems to work that's driver facing, so I don't have any concerns there. I would actually honestly advise clearing those codes out and seeing what came back. It could very well be to a dead battery. There's one in here for telematics unit. So none of the ones below global positioning system, battery voltage. So this is very likely due to a bad battery in the telematics unit that gives you GPS coordinates. So other than the PCM code we found, I don't have any concerns with anything else I found. So I'm going to go ahead and give the code scan a pass, with the exception that this be addressed at a later date. Thank you. So this is the conclusions video for the 2018 Focus ST. Right away, let's start with what we can see. I'd like to have these universal bolt pattern wheels pulled off and the spacers checked on the back to make sure that they are hub-centric and the hub spacers are not made of, the alignment spacers are not made of nylon or plastic inserts or things like that. I really don't want to see that up against brakes, especially as they get hot. The front belly pan needs to be replaced at some point. It's beginning to deform and change shape, and that's eventually going to become a problem. Moving to the back of the vehicle, the left rear shock appears to be on its way out. Maybe it's a little damp. It's maybe beginning to fail. At 80,000 miles for this type of vehicle, it's not unreasonable. Moving over to, there's a little bit of damage here that the seller disclosed on the lamp right here. That needs to be addressed for water intrusion. Did not find anything, issues with the trunk or anything like that. Did not find anything with the bumper cover. Moving over to the back side of the vehicle, no issues with collision damage on this side of the vehicle. The engine bay comes back with a clean bill of health. Interior comes back with a clean bill of health. Brakes were very responsive. There was no signs of abuse or warpage in the brakes when I was doing high speed, coming up and down on the throttle. The vehicle throttles perfectly fine. The synchros feel good on the shifter, first through sixth. No signs of abuse on the clutch or the transmission. And the engine bay, again, was nice and clear and very minimally modified, if anything. So the vehicle as a whole gets a pass. Thank you very much.